the most ridiculous NBA situations I can remember. It's not every day that 3 fully expected starters are removed from that starting lineup, but not inactive a half hour before lock.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a lot of things went sideways there, but that was to me the most ridiculous or the most difficult part. Like, it would be one thing to be like, oh yeah, by the way, these guys are all not playing also. But like the added uncertainty of, is there just some reason that they're not getting the start? Like the night, for example, that Giannis's brother started over Brook Lopez because it was Greek night.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or we saw, I don't remember who it was not that long ago that didn't start a game for whatever disciplinary reason, and then started the second half. So like it was just the lack of clarity around everything on top of the fact that it was completely unexpected made it a nightmare.
I don't get it. Like, is it really worth is paying whatever fine they're about to pay, and they are going to pay a fine. Like, there is no doubt in, like, they are going to get fined for this. Is the fine worth like pulling a fast one on the Nuggets by 30 minutes? Like, because Denver doesn't care.
Pulling a fast one on the Nuggets by 30 minutes to ensure that you're going to lose to them anyway.
Right. I don't understand.
Like, there's no like, oh, if we tell them too early that we're not playing our good players, they're going to match up and beat us.
Right. It just doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why they're not on the injury report. Although I guess there's nothing to list.
Yeah.
And you have to leave a certain amount of people active regardless.
Right. Which I think they had anyway, though.
It probably would have been pretty close, lopping off another 3 people. I think I would have to like actually look at it, but somebody would have had to stay active one way or the other.
How many guys did end up playing last night? I'm looking now.
7, 8.
They played 9 guys last night, so they were fine. Connaughton, Matthews, Lopez, Brown, Antetokounmpo, Wilson, Mason, Korver, Ilyasova.
Yeah.
You only need to dress 8.
Amazing. Yeah, legalized. Josh said he had 100% Middleton. That's because Josh had 100% Middleton. He also had
not have 100% Middleton.
What?
I said, how would anyone not have 100% Middleton?
Right. Agreed. 40-something percent DiVincenzo, 40% Brook Lopez. It didn't even end up all that bad because everybody got brutalized. Like, obviously, I would have preferred the other side because I had a lot of Charlotte, Atlanta, and no Jokic and no Gobert, and all of that would have worked out pretty tasty. But instead, yeah, DNP coach's decision. I didn't know Marvin Williams didn't play.
I didn't either till right now.
Yeah. It's fascinating. I just don't.
What I really want to know is, why did Wes Matthews play 32 minutes?
I don't know. Poorly, I might add. 9.6 boards.
Well, that's probably one of his best games of the season.
Yeah, but when you're playing with Giannis's little brother and Frank Mason, I just don't get it, and I don't know why it happened. Especially in Milwaukee. Like, if you want to light money on fire and you're in a big market, that's fine. But I'm guessing they want that $200,000 back or whatever they get hit with, because that's pretty bad. Pretty bad. All of a sudden, I'm sitting on the couch watching TV with the wife, and I felt like my phone got stuck on vibrate. It was just getting tagged in everything. What should we do? I don't know.
Yeah. Like I was like scrolling Twitter, and I see someone who I follow say that it looks like Middleton might not be starting, but he says stuff like that all the time, and he's wrong like 80% of the time. So I was just like,
I know,
okay, whatever. Yeah. And so I was like, okay, whatever. And then like the Bucks page is just like new starting 5, and it's like just all the randoms.
The only thing you don't get is why the Bucks did it so late, other than it made sense for something wonky to happen with the Bucks. Nope. No. It's not a problem if this happened at 5:30.
What did you say?
Like, no one planned for this. It doesn't matter that they were on a back-to-back or 3 and 4 or whatever. None of that matters.
Well, yeah, I mean, to what they said, like what we're saying is that it doesn't make sense that it happened so late.
Right.
I mean, like for them to just say, yeah, we're not playing any of our guys. Teams do that all the time.
Yeah.
But the fact that it was so late is what made it different. To your point, yeah, obviously you shouldn't have been planning for this. Like, if every time a team is on a back-to-back or on a 3 and 4, you're projecting all of their starters to sit, you're probably gonna do pretty poorly.
Yeah, if you got out in front of that one, kudos. There was no scenario, especially once Bledsoe was axed, where I wasn't going to have 100% Chris Middleton.
Right.
And that's just how this works. He was the second most owned guy on FanDuel behind John Collins, 70.7% owned in the $7 on FanDuel. 29.3% of the lineups were the only ones that didn't have Middleton. Let's find, is there a way to do that? I want to know who what the highest finish was without Middleton or with Middleton. But I don't think there's a way to inverse filter.
What did you say you're looking for?
I want to know who finished the highest with Middleton.
I see what you're saying.
I'm guessing, what was his price? Middleton was $7K. Okay, so he can show up in that second column. Yeah, I don't think I could do that. I'll have to talk to Dave. Figure out an easier way to do this. Oh, at least I was very happy to remember that I have a Bucks shirt, though. That was fun to put on today because they just absolutely eviscerated the slate. Winning lineup on FanDuel last night, able to dodge the bullet. Trae Young, Terry Rozier, Donovan Mitchell. Man, I even nailed that. Donovan Mitchell was my bust pick in the syllabus. 27 fantasy points. Unbelievable. Joe Ingles at 38. 6 times the field. Oh, this is brutal. Devontae Graham, Pascal Siakam, Ingles, Ibaka, Collins, Dedmon. 398. Amazing. This is completely random. I know you have no idea. How much do they get fined?
I have
100 grand?
6 figures easily.
Yeah. Seems really egregious.
It
was easy to get away from the Bucks. That's a quote in chat. That's one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. It was easy to get away from the Bucks.
The only people who thought this Bucks situation was easy was people who don't actually play DFS or people that barely play.
Don't win.
Right, exactly. Like if you think it was easy to get away from that and you're consistently right on these obscure things, you would make so much money.
Yes.
But you're not and you don't.
Right. 100%. 100%. Of the 150 maxers last night, Chris Middleton was 81% owned. Those morons in their 150 max lineups. Dante DiVincenzo, 43.
And this is FanDuel, right?
Yeah. Brooke Lopez, 20. Because I think that's a little bit more telling.
I'll say
if they're so easy to get away from, somebody needs to let all of the pros know. Amazing.
It's a catch-22, man. You see it coming. It was easy to see, but you don't have the bankroll to play like the pros do. So just have to sit in YouTube chat and talk about it.
I didn't have them in my dollar head-to-head. Unbelievable. It's so bad.
There's a distinction, too, I think, between national TV games and non-national TV games. I could be wrong as far as the fine goes.
I'm sure there is. This one feels pretty unique. You don't see this one every day. Yeah, guys, I'm with T McBee. Hit that like button and pay attention to what you see in YouTube chat because you're going to be able to filter out a lot of garbage. Just try to figure out who thinks that was a good idea, and you'll be fine moving forward for who you need to listen to.
Someone on Twitter yesterday said something about they were saying that the news wasn't that big of a deal because with Bledsoe and Hill out, or with Bledsoe and Giannis out rather, you already knew that like Robin Lopez was a good value. I was like, okay.
I did not give Robin Lopez an additional minute when that news came out.
He played what, 7 minutes with Giannis out. So I mean, I guess if you have Robin Lopez running some point, but
yeah, obviously he was going to play 32 minutes. Fantastic. So guys, that's where we're at. Hell of a Monday. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, because this is the NBA Strategy Show presented by Superdraft. You can go to superdraft.io, use the promo code AWESEMO, and get yourself 30. Nope, that's a completely different promotion. You can get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $10 or more deposit. They've got $36,000 jump shot today. 7K up top. Did I see that correctly? It's loading. 7K up top. 3,500 entries. So you're going to want to pay close attention to that. Superdraft lock is at 8 o'clock tonight. I don't know what we're doing with regards to that. Normal lock is at 7. So stay tuned to probably our Twitter account for additional information. But what you want to do is go to Superdraft and use that promo code AWESEMO. You don't have to worry about salaries. All you do is worry about multipliers. In this case, for today, my number one Superdraft play is Luka Doncic by a half point over Anthony Davis. Keep a close eye there, though. If LeBron James is out, AD would likely jump to that top spot. And then sign up at awesemo.com using the promo code NBA Strategy. One big word. Get yourself 50% off your first week of Awesemo Plus. We've got content for everything. NBA, which, make sure you're staying on that until each game tips off. MLB coming soon. NHL running strong with Jake. PGA, NASCAR, tennis, MMA, XFL. We've got it all. Come check it out. NBA Strategy is the promo code. The Bucks technically didn't do anything wrong. They DNP'd. They didn't scratch. You don't technically have to start people. It was probably some gray area which allowed them to do that. Yeah. No. Nope. Not at all. I promise you they are going to get fined for that.
Yeah, I don't think the Lakers get to be like, no, we didn't make LeBron inactive. We just didn't think it was in the best interest of the team to play him.
Yeah.
Which is what Budenholzer said after the game, by the way. He said that he went with the team that gave them the best chance to win on their back-to-back in Denver. Chris Middleton, when asked about it, was like, yeah, I guess he thought I was going to play like shit, so it makes sense.
If they don't get fined, I'll eat crow on that one. But they're going to get fined.
The only way they wouldn't get fined is because it was a random-ass Milwaukee-Denver game in Denver, like, not on TV.
I still can't believe it happened. Hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. All right, let me grab ownership.
That's like peak 2016 basketball.
Yes, it is.
Except we would have found out at tip. In 2016, the Bucks beat reporters would have been like, whoa, we just tipped off in Denver, and Robin Lopez won the tip. Giannis' younger brother's in the starting lineup. We don't really know what's going on.
They're probably all just confused. It was like Lopez is out there, Antetokounmpo is out there. Right. Everything seems fine. Will Quack, thanks for all the content, fellas. Had second place finishes this past week on DK. Appreciate all that you do. Congrats, man. Second place feels good. Good work.
Based on how my week's going, I will take credit for none of that. So it had to have been Josh Lofty and Eddie.
Yeah. Well, you should never really take credit for it anyway. So. All right. Ownership is in. We've got a 9-gamer to dive into. I'm ready if you are.
Sounds good.
Indiana Pacers, Boston Celtics. Celtics are 2-point favorites in Indiana. Pacers are without Malcolm Brogdon, as we know, and then Jeremy Lamb's leg exploded, so he is also still hurt. For Boston, Jaylen Brown is the only guy out for the Celts. We'll start on the Indiana side. Domantas Sabonis, 15% owned on FanDuel, 11 on DK. Miles Turner getting a little love on DraftKings. TJ Warren, 18% on FanDuel, 16 on DK. I'm not all that interested in these guys. This is a terrible DFS type game. I understand if they're getting in like 5 to 10% of lineups, but I don't have anybody ranked all that highly. Even Aaron Holiday on FanDuel as like a value play is still not even remotely close for me. I don't get the sense that I'm going to have much Indiana. How do you feel?
I feel similarly. I mean, I think that Sabonis obviously is a little bit more productive without Brogdon. Turner's minutes are a little bit more solidified as well. The pricing has started to come up, especially, Sabonis is up to 8,900. Turner's at 5,700, which still looks okay. I think more of just kind of secondary options from this team. Like right now, I think that on DraftKings, all of Sabonis, Warren, Turner, Holiday, and even to some extent Oladipo look like they're correctly priced. Like I don't think there's a lot of value there, but I don't think that they're bad plays either. But with it being a 9-game slate, I wouldn't expect any of them to be guys I get a lot of.
Right. That's sort of where I feel like nothing's bad, but they're all like guys that I'd figure I'd get like 5% of.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just like wildly unappealing. I mean, I'm probably selling Sabonis on FanDuel short at 8,500, but he's still like my 5th power forward, so I can only be so excited.
I think they start to become interesting if the ownership is really low, because obviously they have upside. Like you're getting big minutes from these guys, and the price tags are still reasonable. So you can use them to differentiate in lineups. Where you have a chalkier lineup. There's nothing wrong with being like, oh, I'll take Sabonis and hope that I get 55 points because he clearly can do that. But it's not going to be like your priority.
Yeah. On the Boston side, again, Jaylen Brown out. I don't really have anybody all that highly ranked. On DraftKings in particular, the Celtics look really difficult to get to, at least to me. Prices just seem a bit too high. On FanDuel, they seem like mildly more viable, but at the same time, only Gordon Hayward at 6,100 is a top 5 at their position guy for me. Do you expect to get to Boston today?
No, they're really priced up on DraftKings also, and I just hate the matchup with Indiana. A slow team, a solid defensive team. Tatum's price is starting to finally come back down. He's at 8,900, but even there, I think I would rather go to Sabonis at the same price point. But Tatum looks like the most appealing Boston player to me on DraftKings. It's just that he's still not really that appealing.
Yeah. Like if I'm going to spend 8,900, this doesn't seem like the spot where I want to do it. Yeah. You've got Devin Booker at 88, Andre Drummond 87, even Russell at 85. Those all seem like more viable options to me, even paying up a little bit more. I don't know. Who's your favorite play in this game?
Either Turner or Sabonis, depending on what price point you're looking at.
Okay. Yeah, this is murky. Sabonis for me on FanDuel. Next closest guy would be Gordon Hayward. Also FanDuel. Alrighty. Let's move on to your Washington Wizards. 5.5-point favorites against the Knicks. Is there Wizards news? I feel like somebody was out, but now I feel like that's not the case. I'm pulling it up now. Maybe I'm crazy.
There it is. Pastic Sneaks questionable. Robinson questionable.
Yeah, Robinson being questionable was the one that I was thinking of.
Yeah, Ish still out.
Still have everybody in though. Little bit to like here. And the guy that I like the most, and I'm curious to see where you land. I guess you're going to be with me given the ownership is also there. 28% owned on DraftKings at 3,700. How do you feel about Troy Brown today?
Depends on Robinson.
Sure.
If Robinson's out, I like him. If Robinson's in, I don't.
Interesting. Okay. Do you think that the minutes were... So Troy Brown played 28 minutes on Friday, which I think is telling. Obviously, the minutes are very secure if Robinson is out. What do you make of the 28 minutes on that Friday game, though? Because that's what's tripping me up. I gave him 26 just in general, with Robinson in.
There's something weird about that game. I don't remember. I'm looking now, trying to remember what it was. Napier. Napier didn't play the entire fourth quarter because he got hit in the face, and then they just went with the unit they had in.
Okay.
So I think that Brown played the final 16 minutes of that game. I don't think that's normal.
Okay. So if Robinson plays, you're assuming Troy Brown plays 20 minutes?
mid 20, like 24.
Okay. So then what stands out to you from Washington? We also have Thomas Bryant at 22% ownership, 3,900 on DK. Beal at 10-2, not going to get much love. What do you like from Washington against the Knicks?
I like Bryant and Beal. Bryant only played 16 minutes in their last game, but he dealt with some pretty major foul trouble. Picked up 3 fouls in his 2 minutes and 54 seconds in the second quarter. So he lost about 2 minutes of that stint when he went to the bench. Picked up his 4th and 5th fouls in his first stint in the third quarter. So lost probably a little bit of run there, but then also, didn't sub back in until late in the fourth and then immediately fouled out. So only played 16 minutes there, but in their game on Friday against Atlanta, you got him up to 24 minutes. Scott Brooks has said he's still on a minutes limit, but if that minutes limit is around 24 minutes and he's sub 4K, I think that's a pretty decent value option. And then Beal, 10-2, I just really don't think is that expensive for him anymore. You're talking about the highest usage rate in the league since he came back from his injury in the middle of January. He's been driving to the basket more. He's getting more free throw attempts. I think and he plays huge minutes. So I think his price tag is pretty much where it should be, and that there is still some value there.
Okay. Only Brown and Bryant are in double digits on DK. No one is on FanDuel. If Robinson plays, I know you're not really looking at this right now, 3,500 on FanDuel. Thoughts?
I think that's fine. I mean, obviously it comes down to roster construction because there are so many underpriced players there.
Yeah.
But like Robinson's not someone that I expect to give you a ton of raw points. I know he had a really big game on Friday against Atlanta, but he had a bunch of steals there. He, I think, scored like 14 points or something like that too. He's still not going to be a really high usage guy, but especially playing in the starting lineup, playing so many minutes alongside Beal. But at the minimum salary, the Wizards have no reason not to be playing Jerome Robinson a lot of minutes if he's healthy.
Right.
He's who they got in the Isaiah Thomas trade from the Clippers first round pick a couple of years ago. There's value in the Wizards finding out what they have from Robinson. There's not much reason for them to be like giving more minutes to Isak Bonga. He's had his chance all year long. So if Robinson's healthy, I expect him to play a bunch of minutes, especially if he's playing well, which is nice.
Yeah, I like Beal a lot more on FanDuel just because of the way the positions break down. 9,900 makes it pretty easy to get to. I will have my eye on Robinson as a potential value option as we get closer to lock, if he is in.
Totally unrelated to the slate, but I never really found the answer to it. Why did the Clippers give up Robinson for Thomas?
No idea.
Because I assumed it was some kind of cap thing, but that doesn't make sense because he's not making any money. And then they waived Thomas. I don't know. It was weird.
I have no idea. Doesn't really make much sense to me.
I mean, loved it as a Wizards fan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the type of guy that the Wizards should be trying to grab all day. And maybe even pay for it, not even just here, take Isaiah Thomas.
Right.
Temporarily, I might add. I don't have much else. I don't really have much interest in Napier, Rui, or Troy Brown if Robinson is in. So
Rui, I think Rui's mildly appealing still to me on DraftKings. He's only 4,900. He hasn't had good games recently in terms of scoring, but he played 32 minutes 2 games ago. He played 40 minutes against Miami. He literally scored 0 points in his 40 minutes against Miami, but that obviously isn't the norm. And if you're going to get low to mid 30s from him potentially at 4,900, there's some value there.
Knicks side, this one's generally pretty easy. Randall and Payton are the only guys in double digits. Randall and Payton probably the only guys that I have any interest in, but Julius Randle ranks 6th at his position on FanDuel for me. Elfrid Payton for 6,300 on DraftKings is probably my favorite option overall. Do you think you get to the Knicks? It should be a good spot, but it's also the Knicks.
Yeah, I think it's a good spot. I think that Payton and Randall both look good. You obviously mentioned both of them, but Payton's price tag has finally come down a bit. He's only 6,300 on DraftKings. He had been, I think, a little overpriced for a while, but now he's back to where he should be. I think also getting a $5,500 Mitchell Robinson, who they've been giving more minutes to. I think if you expect 27 or 28 minutes from him against the weak Washington front court, that makes it a pretty appealing spot. RJ Barrett, I think, is a good, if he's going to be low owned, a good guy to get to in tournaments just because he's cheap. And this is the kind of matchup where he should do well, expecting 30 to 32 minutes from him. Yeah, so I mean, I think that it's just a really good matchup for the Knicks. Obviously, the problem you run into is that it is the Knicks, but I think that Peyton and Randall both look like the top two options. But in tournaments, I would definitely have interest in Robinson and Barrett as well.
I thought I would have so much more of this game, and it just doesn't look like that's going to be the case. I don't know. I don't know why, but it's just not going to be there for me. Favorite play in this game?
Either Randall or Beal.
Give me Randall in that scenario on DK. FanDuel is going to be... It's got to be Beal. All right, we're off to Chicago. Chicago Bulls, Cleveland Cavaliers. Bulls 4.5-point favorites against the Cavs. We'll start on the Chicago side with the big news that the Bulls are starting Kobe White over Satoransky today, which is, I don't know what to make of it. I like Satoransky. I assume you do too, and probably wish that he was still on the Wizards. Yeah, okay. I mean, I get it. You want to play Kobe White as well, but neither here nor there. White,
I think there's several other people on the Bulls right now that he could be starting over instead.
Very true. We don't know the status of Archie. He is questionable. Kobe White is 15% owned on FanDuel, 11 on DK. 1.65x multiplier on SuperDraft is very appealing. Wendell Carter, 24% owned on FanDuel. Denzel Valentine, 23% owned on FanDuel. Both guys sub 4K. And Shaq Harrison on FanDuel and DraftKings. 49% owned on FanDuel, 43% owned on DraftKings. That has to be the assumption that Archie is not going to play. Even still, that feels high. So let's talk about the Bulls, but let's start with Chalk. Is Shaq Harrison going to be that owned even if Arcidiacono is out?
It's tough. I mean, 5K, like he still looks like a good value if you're expecting mid-30s in minutes from him. But it's just scary to me because we know that Boylan will mess with the rotations. You don't know exactly how this rotation is going to look now that you have White starting. I assume it's basically just Satoransky taking those high 20s minutes, mid-high 20s minutes that White's been getting for a lot of the year. But you don't really know if that changes anything rotation-wise. Denzel Valentine at some point could pick up a few more minutes potentially at the expense of Harrison. You have the guys like Porter getting healthier too. It scares me at 5K because you actually need a pretty decent game from him to be happy you played him. And if he has a disappointing game at 5K, it does hurt you and potentially 40% of the field. So I do think he's a good value. I just think that 40% at 5K on a 9-game slate is probably a little high.
If Archie is in, how many minutes do you think Shaq Harrison's playing?
30-ish. Really?
Isn't
that... I thought he played that the last game that Archie was in.
Played 28. So Arcidiacono has been out the past 2 games. The third game back, he played 28. Before that, it was all like 15s and stuff, or it was 16. So
okay, then yeah, probably like 20, high 20s.
Okay.
Wouldn't even necessarily have to, though, is the thing, because like back when he played 29 minutes in that game, Porter was still playing like 20.
That's true.
I think there's enough uncertainty. Like I still think that if you're just talking ceiling, he has a ceiling at 5K. I just think that there's enough uncertainty, especially if Arcidiacono comes back, that I wouldn't be. I don't think he should be 40% on.
What else do you like from the Bulls?
I like Kobe still. I don't think that him starting changes a whole lot. You were still getting mid-30s minutes, but the usage rate, still up around 30%, and it is a good matchup against Cleveland. So I think he still looks good. Pricing's come up on most of the other guys. $4,600 Wendell Carter looks pretty cheap. They said prior to his last game that he was basically back to his normal minutes. He played 28 minutes against the Nets. Didn't do anything, but if you're getting $4,600 Wendell Carter playing 28 to 30 minutes, I think that's a good price point.
$3,900 Wendell Carter on FanDuel too.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. What about $3,900 on FanDuel Denzel Valentine?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I'm expecting 22 to 24 minutes.
Yeah, I have Carter and Valentine both 7th at their position, given those salaries. I think that seems about okay on a 9-gamer. Oh, Shaq Harrison day where he's not priced at 3,500 is wild.
Yeah.
And then we go to Cleveland. This team, man.
Hey, on one more thing. So on DraftKings, Otto Porter's 4,600, Harrison's 5K. What's the ownership difference have to be for you to prefer Porter?
Well, it's 43-10 right now.
Because that seems pretty good to me.
Yeah. I gave Porter 24 minutes. I think it could be slightly more. Yeah. I don't. It's not just a straight line for me.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, Porter's going to get more minutes. They've just been limiting him.
But, like, is he, though?
Why wouldn't he?
Because it's 15 games left in a garbage season.
Yeah.
It's a throwaway, and this dude hasn't been healthy for 2 years. Like, maybe it just never goes to 34 like we would want it to.
Yeah, that's true.
The principle here is that it shouldn't be 44-10 Shaq
Right.
Harrison, even at 24 minutes. So
Right. Yeah. My point isn't that like I prefer Porter. It's like, let's say I give Harrison, so let's say like Harrison gets 30 minutes and Porter gets 26. Harrison projects a little bit better, but I think that there's just enough uncertainty where Porter's a pretty natural pivot to Harrison if you're looking for one.
okay. And then we go to Cleveland. No Tristan Thompson. These guys are just playing astronomical minutes with no semblance of a rotation. And we're not getting any ownership here. Andre Drummond is 15% owned on FanDuel. He's 8,200. Kevin Love is 10% owned on FanDuel. He is 6,900. Larry Nance is 15% owned on FanDuel. He is 5,600. Delhi is 3,900 on FanDuel and 4K on DraftKings, barely owned. What do you want to do with Cleveland? Because I expect to have a ton of these idiots.
Yeah, I think I will too, because the pricing still looks pretty solid. On DraftKings, you have 7K for Colin Sexton, who I'm expecting 36, 38 minutes.
Yeah.
He should lead the team in usage. Drummond should play big minutes without Thompson. Last game you got 33 minutes, including overtime, but that was also with Drummond picking up his fourth foul a minute and 45 seconds into the second half. So he went to the bench. That got more minutes for Larry Nance. So, without Drummond, I'm expecting 32 plus without Thompson, I'm expecting 32 plus from Drummond in a pretty solid spot against the Bulls. Love's playing 34, 35 minutes in regulation. He, is basically behind Sexton and I guess Drummond now in terms of usage, but still looks reasonably appealing. Chetty and Dellavedova are playing big minutes. Dellavedova's price tag finally jumped to 4K on DraftKings. So I'd be kind of hesitant going there just because, obviously he's had big games recently, but I don't want to always rely on him picking up 15 assists and he's not a high usage guy. So starts to get a little bit scary, but still some value there. I think that Sexton and Drummond are the two priorities for me, though.
Sexton at 0% ownership on DraftKings.
That has to change.
1% on FanDuel. Larry Nance for 5,600 on FanDuel. 15% ownership is hilarious to me. Right now I have the target score at 35.
Right. Yeah, so you think the ownership's too low?
By a ton. Andre Drummond at 15% ownership. I have him projected 2 points above his target score.
Nance played, so in the first half against the Nets when Thompson was in, Nance still played 15, 16 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys are just playing a ton.
And then, so from the point where Drummond picked up his fourth foul with 10 minutes and 15 seconds into the third quarter, Nance played every minute of the third, fourth, and overtime.
They've just stopped playing everyone else. It's craziness.
Was Ante Zizic hurt last game, or did they just say screw it?
I think they just said screw it.
Yeah. Dean Wade, I know, was questionable.
I also think that they probably didn't plan to play Zizic when Thompson was in, and then once Thompson was out, they weren't like, "Hey man, can you go get loose in the tunnel?"
He probably gets like 8 minutes today or something.
Wouldn't shock me. Don't think it affects anybody negatively.
No, exactly. It's just kind of a let's make our guys a little bit less likely to die.
Yeah, they are. This is not a move that I was expecting, but I'm here for it.
Like basically, so if you look at the Brooklyn game, Tristan Thompson played 8 minutes. that I think probably becomes Zizic. And then
Yeah.
other than that, the minutes are similar.
Absolutely.
Except for, I would say, obviously subtracting overtime.
Yeah, this is going to be just a really, really wild game. But I'm here for it. Favorite play in the game?
Carter?
Really?
I don't know. Like, the Bulls all kind of look similar to me. Like, I like Kobe. I like Carter. On the Chicago side, I really like Sexton. Or the Cleveland side, rather. I don't know. It's tough for me. It's a game where I like a lot of guys.
Yeah.
But I don't think that any, like, one stands out more than the rest for me.
Okay. It's FanDuel Drummond. Full stop. 8,200 is crazy.
If I remember right, there's like a weird history with Drummond and Carter games. I'm trying to see what it was, just as far as like results go.
Really? Now I'm just curious.
Totally wrong. For some reason, it just stands out in my head as like one of them consistently doing well.
Now I'm curious.
Drummond so they faced each other 5 times. Drummond's kind of look like you would expect. 53, 38, 67, 60, and 29 DraftKings points. Carter.
If Wendell Carter has like 6 straight 50-point games, I'm going to be really intrigued.
29, 37, 35, 43 in his last 4, 15 in the first one.
Okay. Something to keep an eye on, I guess. Get yourself some Drummond on FanDuel, everybody. 8,200 is silly.
Why does Carter have less games than Drummond?
What do you mean?
Or did I just count wrong?
I mean,
I thought Drummond had 6.
Maybe Carter didn't play.
Well, I searched for Andre Drummond against Wendell Carter. So.
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing.
But no, I just counted wrong. They both have 5.
I didn't know if you were just looking at like Pistons versus Bulls.
No.
Like, yeah, I mean, maybe he just wasn't able to play that game, man. All right, Houston Rockets, Minnesota Timberwolves. Rockets 128.5 implied total. Number 1 with a bullet. They are 12.5 point favorites here. This is going to be a track meet game. Minnesota's defense is terrible. Harden is 30+% owned. Russ is 30% owned. Covington in the 20s. Not hard to want to get to James Harden and Russell Westbrook today. I prefer Harden to Westbrook on FanDuel. I prefer Westbrook to Harden on DraftKings. I greatly prefer Harden on SuperDraft. Talk to me about the top 2 guys for Houston for now.
Yeah, I mean, that all sounds right to me. I think that you're seeing the gap on DraftKings start to spread out more between Harden and Westbrook. And I've talked before about with the way that the Rockets play now, I think that Westbrook is as good as he's ever been this season from a fantasy standpoint. It just sets up really, really well for him. So I think it's reasonable to expect going forward that usage is pretty similar on average between Harden and Westbrook. You'll get some games where it's Westbrook higher and some where it's Harden higher, but it's going to pretty much average out. So I think that where there is a big price gap, you should be going towards the cheaper one, especially when we've seen a tendency for Westbrook to still be lower owned, even when he's cheaper, because Harden is Harden. So where they're really close in price, I think the edge still goes to Harden, just based on track record. But I think that they are really close in expected production. So Westbrook, where he's 1,200 less on DraftKings, looks better to me.
Okay. Covington feels quite a bit overowned. 21% on DK, 29% on FanDuel. Revenge narrative or whatever is going on here. And I like him. Like, I don't think that he looks like it looks wrong, but 20+% right now seems slightly high.
Yeah, by a little bit, maybe. I do think he's a good play, though. Like, the rebounding numbers for him since going to Houston are really solid. And
Gordon may be back as well.
What'd you say?
Eric Gordon may be back as well.
Yeah, I don't think that affects Covington. I think it has a bigger impact on like Jeff Green, I would think.
Yeah.
Green and Rivers, he played 28 minutes last game, but
they're actually using guys now instead of playing just 7.
What did you say?
Damari Carroll sees the floor. You still get Rivers and McLemore. Like, they've got bodies now.
Yeah, Green is the one that like intrigues me out of that group because he's just kind of slowly creeping his way into more minutes. But yeah, I mean, as far as Covington goes, I don't really think that any of those guys affect him. Like, I think he's clearly the third guy here. The rebounding numbers, like I said, have been good. and he's playing big minutes normally. Only played 26 in the blowout loss against Orlando the other day, but in competitive games, you're normally getting like 34 plus. Really good matchup for him and all that. So I do think he should be getting quite a bit of ownership. I don't 21 probably is either around where he should be or a little high maybe.
Would you rather have Jeff Green at 4K?
4K is scary to me. If he was still like 3K or 3,300 or something, I would have a little bit of interest. It in part depends on Gordon. If Gordon's out, obviously minutes open up. If Gordon's back, we had basically been seeing Jeff Green back up PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
Against the Clippers, you saw Green play a little bit alongside Tucker, but still primarily backed him up. Tucker just didn't play the entire fourth quarter, so you got more minutes for Green. Last game against Orlando, Green subbed in for Daniel House in both the first and the third quarter. He also closed the first half over House. So that was interesting because he was doing all of that alongside Tucker.
Been playing well.
The thing that scares me is like if Gordon's back, that's normally I think Gordon, and you're sliding guys down a position, whereas instead of it being Green. So I'd be hesitant if Gordon's back. If Gordon's out, I do think you can get mid-20s from Green again.
Like I would rather have Jeff Green than Covington if Gordon is out. If Jeff Green is projected for no ownership.
I think I would still rather have Covington.
Okay. Again, not that I hate Covington. I have him 33rd on DK. Like he's not like a no-go.
I think it's close. Talking 4K versus 6,200. The ownership could be enough to swing it for sure. It's just that I really like Covington's role with Houston.
Same. I'm glad they got him. And then we
I'm glad that the rebounds are going to Covington and not Tucker, because I wouldn't be able to handle having to play PJ Tucker that often.
Oh, Tuck. God, he's been so bad. 0.56 FanDuel points per minute the last 30 days.
Is he the best real-life NBA? Like, is he the biggest disparity between real-life NBA player and DFS player?
It's like the inverse of D'Angelo Russell.
Exactly.
Yeah, probably, right?
I mean, because there's not many.
Brook Lopez.
Lopez produces at like such a higher rate than Tucker, though.
That's true. We're talking, like on a per minute rate, yeah.
Yeah, there's not many guys that produce less than Tucker on a per minute rate.
No,
but he's actually a valuable NBA player.
Let me sort this. So I've got my table of like everybody's baseline rates. So I'm going to sort out, guys that like don't play all that often. So you had to play like 3,000 possessions or something. I assume Tucker is going to be near the bottom, but also be like really good. So the worst rated guy on a per possession basis that I have that has played more than 3,000 possessions over the past calendar year or past 500 days is Terrence Ferguson. But
right,
he's bad and bad.
Right.
Then it's Semi, Tony Snell, Travion Graham, Wes Matthews, Landry Shamet, Alan Crabb, Jared Dudley, and then PJ Tucker. So Tucker is at the bottom of this, but none of those guys we're naming are nearly as responsible to winning as PJ Tucker. I'm trying to see if there's any names there that, like, Wilson Chandler is like a knockoff version. Depending on the day, Avery Bradley. Oh, man, this is bleak. This is really bleak. House is also pretty low.
Yeah.
KCP, he's probably like the guard version of PJ Tucker, or wing version,
or at least he used to be. I don't know if he still is.
Yeah. Duncan Robinson, jury's still out. Gary Harris.
That's a good comparison.
Yeah. And then we start getting into like a little bit more functional guys. Danny Green, Eric Gordon.
Yeah. But basically, like, you go through that whole list of guys you named, and NBA teams, like good NBA teams, are like, yeah, whatever, he can sit on my bench. Like, I don't mind having him. You get to PJ Tucker, and they're like, wait, no, I want that guy.
Yeah, nobody's getting played like PJ Tucker gets played.
Right.
And so much of that is the Rockets being willing to like be smart, and 26 other teams just not really being smart.
Yeah, true.
Like if PJ Tucker were not on the Rockets, PJ Tucker probably plays like 16 minutes a game.
That's also a good point.
Unless he was on like another team that understands like that box score stats don't mean you win. Like if he were the center, like I think he would be really interesting on like the Celtics because they'd be like, oh yeah, we can fit him here and there, and like he'd play like 28 minutes and it'd be great. But if you moved him to Minnesota right now, well, that's a bad example because they don't have anybody.
Boston's probably a bad example too, just because of Tice actually being good.
Sure. Yeah, that was more of like a general statement. They would.
But
there are teams that would know how to use him correctly.
If you had like Cantor, Tucker, and Time Lord instead of Tice, the Celtics would actually play Tucker.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of teams would be just like Enes Kanter, go get dogged on defense for 28 minutes.
Yep. Speaking of getting dogged on defense, Minnesota Timberwolves. D'Angelo Russell is the only guy in double digits on both sites, just barely getting there on DK. 7,900 on FanDuel is pretty nice. He's my number 4 at the position. I don't mind Malik Beasley on FanDuel, 5,700. I don't mind Hernan Gomez, 4,800 on FanDuel. I don't really love the prices on DraftKings here. Much more likely to get to the Houston side. How are you feeling about Minnesota?
I'm with you as far as not really loving the pricing. The only 2 guys on DraftKings I've really been getting too much of lately, because they were pretty quick to adjust pricing on the Wolves, but Beasley and Russell, obviously the offense running through them, and you're getting low to mid 30s in minutes. Russell's minutes have been a little disappointing lately, but he did play 35 last game. You got 32 from Beasley. Those are obviously the first 2 guys I get to. Naz Reid is a high upside play. He is capable of producing in bunches, and his biggest issue has been his playing time being limited by foul trouble. But I had mentioned it before, I think on a show with Alex. If you look at his usage rate for the season, it's really high, but a lot of that was affected by him coming off the bench and playing with a bunch of low usage guys. It's not nowhere near as high since the trade and him joining the starting lineup. So I think that is one thing to be cautious of. Like, he still gives you that ceiling because it is a fast-paced game and he is capable of being productive. But I don't think that he should be viewed in the same light as he was earlier in the year when he was getting random playing time due to injuries and he was coming out with like a 25% usage rate.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. Just refreshing something on my back end quickly. That sounds weird when you say it out loud. Wow, this is taking longer than I thought it would. Okay, come on now. Solver.
20.4% usage rate in his 11 games with Russell, by the way.
Really?
For Naz Reid.
That's way lower than I would have expected. Oh, there's an Ted in chat. Pat Bev, good player, bad for DFS. That's another good example. Yeah.
But still not even like in the same ballpark as Tucker, I don't think.
No, not at all.
For the season, Pat Bev has averaged about... Where'd he go?
I've got him here.
He's averaged like 0.8 to 0.84 DraftKings points per minute.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, his baseline talent is a lot higher than Tucker's.
But yeah, still a more valuable NBA player than DFS player.
Do you expect to get to a lot of Minnesota anywhere, really? It's such a favorable game from a pace perspective, but
I don't think I'll get to tons just because I think that with it being a 9-game slate and guard always being stacked, I'm going to find guys that I like a little bit more than Russell Beasley. Especially one thing to point out too on DraftKings is that Russell's only a point guard and Beasley's only a shooting guard. They've obviously done a better job recently of cutting MPE from a lot of guys, but you're still going to run into a lot of point guard / shooting guard or some guard / forward guys to make it easier to get them in the lineups. So basically what that ends up doing as far as exposure goes is it cuts a little bit from the Russell and Beasley one position guys, because where they're already kind of middle of the road plays, then you're getting these other guys that project similarly but are easier to get into a lineup.
Favorite play in the game?
Westbrook.
Yeah, I'm with you on DK. FanDuel's got to be hard for me. Let's go to Memphis. Memphis Grizzlies, Orlando Magic. Grizzlies slight favorites at home. Business as usual for Memphis, but it looks like Jaren Jackson's getting a little bit closer to coming back. I don't have a ton that I like on this side. Kyle Anderson is the flat minimum on Yahoo. That's wildly unappealing, but I need to say it out loud. Only Kyle Anderson on FanDuel is in double digits in ownership. Wow, is that a real take? I don't even want to say that on the stream. I'm going to paste this to you. This isn't about basketball.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, I I don't have much interest in the Memphis side. Joe Val's my number 6 center on FanDuel. I think Ja for 7,100 on DK works, but Memphis just looks like filler to me.
Yeah, it's another team where I've been playing tons of them like every slate, and DraftKings just jacked their prices up finally. Um, I think Valanciunas, Morant, and Brooks are all still reasonably good options. Valanciunas' minutes have been really good since Clark and Jackson got hurt. This is a game where you would expect him to stay on the floor against Vooch as well. So expecting 30 to 32 minutes from Valanciunas makes him okay, but his salary's jumped to 8,200. Morant at 7,100, not a very appealing matchup, and the price tag came up a little bit. I think the one guy that still does stand out to me a bit is that Dylan Brooks is still only $5,300. Only played 27 minutes last game. His minutes have been down in general, but that's been in part due to blowouts. If you're going to get around 30 minutes from him, you're talking about someone with, a 27 to 28% usage rate under the current conditions. He's not very good, and it's not a good matchup. So there is a really low floor, but it's just really difficult to find the ceiling that high in this price range. Someone that can actually go out there and shoot 20 plus times.
Wish I had better takes for Memphis, but this is just not my spot today. It's clearly not a spot on DraftKings. No one is north of 7% ownership on DK on either side of this game.
Yeah, it's pretty tough pricing.
Yeah. FanDuel a little different. Vooch, Aaron Gordon, Terrence Ross, all 15 to 20% owned on FanDuel. I really like Vooch. He's my number 3 center. Don't mind Aaron Gordon at 7K at all. So I'm cool there. Terrence Ross's price has rose enough that I'm a little bit nervous at 5,400, but he's still certainly in play. I don't really need much else from Orlando, though. Do you expect to get to the Magic?
Yeah, I think that it's nice because it's a pace-up game. Memphis has been really good defensively for a while now, but you are getting more possessions for Orlando. You still have Fournier out of the lineup. I think that Fultz gets a nice bump in terms of his production without Fournier. Played about 28 minutes last game. So we haven't seen the increase in playing time that we would hope for, but does get an increase in production. DJ Augustine's salary moved a bit, expecting around 26 minutes from him, but it's pretty thin with the salary bump. Vooch, I think, looks the best. He's at 9,100, which is only a couple $100 more than last game. You're typically getting 34, 35 minutes out of him, and his usage goes up without Fournier as well. So he'd be the top guy for me from Orlando.
What do you make of MCW's minutes?
I thought that they would increase a little bit more. So last game you had foul trouble for James Ennis, which is why he played so much.
Yeah.
Ennis picked up 2 fouls in the second quarter, then immediately picked up 2 more fouls to start the third quarter, subbed out after 2 minutes and 13 seconds. So Carter Williams came in about 4 minutes earlier in the third quarter than he typically would. So I'm expecting around 22 minutes from him again. Okay. I kind of thought when Fournier got hurt that Carter Williams would get a little bit bigger bump than Augustine, but it's been Augustine getting the minutes, and I don't see a reason that changes.
Okay. Just wanted to throw that out there. Favorite play in the game?
Vooch.
Seems like a safe bet there. Vooch also my favorite play on FanDuel. Guys, it is the halfway point of the show. 590 viewers, only 107 likes. Embarrassing, guys. Embarrassing. We're doing this for you guys. Hit the thumbs up. It helps out a ton. All you got to do is just one little click. It's so easy. Give us that little click. It'll help us out. Big day today. A lot of content for Tuesday. Obviously a 9-gamer on a Tuesday, a little bit different than what we had yesterday. Coming up at 2:30, PGA Strategy Show. Ben Rasa and Tim Frank talking some golf. Jake will have the NHL Strategy Show at 4. Alex will have the game plan behind the paywall at 4. Adam will be back at 5 for the deeper dive with Lofty, 6 p.m. live before lock. You'll get Fast Eddie Fear plus TBD as far as I can tell. Lots going on for tonight. PGA Lineup Builder is free. NHL Live Blog is free. NBA Rankings are free, so you can check out some of the content. All you have to do is go to awesemo.com. You only know who one of those people are? That was ridiculous. Go to awesemo.com. Use the promo code NBA Strategy if you want to check out all the content we have behind the paywall. And use that promo code. 50% off your first week. Can't beat it. Just like that mustache, Josh. Embarrassing. Yeah, like I'm not happy to have this. I didn't choose to shave this. You would never see this otherwise. There we go. We're up to 150. We'll get over 200 by the end of the show. 4 games to go? Yeah, 4 games to go. I didn't type over Memphis there. San Antonio Spurs, Dallas Mavericks. This one's going to be a little tricky to talk about, but at least we have some sections for it. Mavs are 3.5-point favorites in San Antonio. Spurs are now going to be without DeJounte Murray as well, and no timetable for his return. Got a little dinged up in their last one. Still without LaMarcus Aldridge. Also no Lonnie Walker. DeMar DeRozan, 30+% owned on both sites. Trey Lyles in the 20s. Derek White, 25 on DK. Patty Mills, 27% on DraftKings, where he's 3,100. Rudy Gay getting a lot of ownership on FanDuel at 4,300. It's really difficult to avoid the San Antonio Spurs today. But what are some of the pitfalls you might see? What are the things you like no matter what?
So, yeah, I mean, the pitfalls are that it's the Spurs, but they are, missing a lot of guys here that normally would be the people that we are concerned about stealing minutes. Bellinelli not on the injury report, so he's at least someone that can soak up some minutes that was out. Yeah. But typically, as far as the rotation goes, you've seen Derek White be the backup to Murray, so I'm expecting White to get the start. I'm expecting White to play north of 30 minutes. I think that he ends up being a good value, but you also have 3,100 for Patty Mills. I don't know that he should get at least some more run, because you're talking about, even though White soaks up some of Murray's minutes, White already was playing mid-20s in minutes, so you need those minutes to go to guys like Mills and Forbes, especially with Lonnie Walker being out. So I think that you get a little bit more run from Mills, who looks like a good value at 3,100. Forbes probably gets a few more minutes. He is in PJ Tucker territory as far as per minute production, though. So not quite as valuable for him to get more minutes as it is for Mills and White. So I think White and Mills are the two from the backcourt that I get to the most in large field tournaments. If you want to mix in some Forbes, I think that's fine.
And if the price were different, I would be a little bit more nervous, but I'm just so wildly not confident with this. I would expect Patty Mills to get more minutes as well. I gave him 22. That still makes him look good, but if 30% of the people are already there, like, they might just play Quindari Witherspoon for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I gave him 12. I don't know what to do with these dudes. If I told you Bellinelli played 28 minutes, would you be shocked?
Bellinelli's the one that I think could soak up a lot of run. I'm not confident in him at all, but yeah. I'll probably go like 24 minutes on Mills. I'll probably go 28 to 30 on Forbes. I think I'll go like 30 to 32 on White.
I went 28 on White. He still makes him my number 4 guy on DraftKings. So
yeah, I just think I could obviously be wrong, but I think he plays more.
I feel like they never play guys north of 30 unless they don't have a choice. And when they do, it's like, Bryn Forbes plays 18 and then plays 32. It just feels like everything is on a whim. I don't know.
White has... All right, let me do this differently. We have a bunch of games without DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, but they also include LaMarcus Aldridge and barely include Trey Lyles. And I mean, this team is... They started DeMar DeRozan at the 4 their most recent game.
2 games ago.
Was it 2? You sure it was 2?
Yeah, they started Eubanks against the Cavs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I wouldn't have known if it was Sunday.
56 games with DeJounte Murray this year. Derek White has averaged 23.6 minutes per game. 4 games without him, he's averaged 27.2.
4?
Yeah.
DeJounte Murray's only missed 4 games.
That Derek White was active for, I guess.
Oh, yeah, Derek White missed a bunch of time at the beginning of the season. I don't remember them not being together early. 4. That feels wrong. I don't... I believe you, but...
No, I mean, I understand. I agree with you, too.
Yeah. I would have thought the answer was like
November
11.
16th, November 23rd, and January 4th.
Wow. I would have thought it was so many more than that.
26 minutes for White against Golden State, 34 against Portland, 25 against the Knicks, 24 against Milwaukee.
What about Patty Mills in those situations? This is going to be like he played 18, 34.
22, 21, 29, and 20.
Okay. That works. And Forbes is good for anywhere between 18 and 36, so there's that.
Walker played 2, 11, 7, and 26.
Ugh. Either way, I like Derek White pretty much no matter what on DraftKings, and I have no problem with him on FanDuel. Trey Lyles is very easy to get to. Rudy Gay on FanDuel, very, very easy to get to. And whatever you want to do with DeMar is fine, I guess. He's probably mildly overowned, but also, a clear play. Anybody you don't like? Do you have a problem with that DeMar DeRozan ownership?
No, because his salary just hasn't moved, especially when you're talking about we've seen a lot of guys that have been underpriced recently that DraftKings did bump up their salaries quite a bit. They still haven't moved DeRozan, and it's another not particularly appealing matchup for him, but the usage does go up without Aldridge, and now you're taking Murray off the floor too, which should make it even better.
On the Dallas side, I've got Luka in. He's questionable. One of my favorite plays of the day if he is in, because San Antonio is missing everybody. Porzingis looks solid, 9,400 on FanDuel, 9,300 on DraftKings. I'd be okay getting to a little bit of Maxey on FanDuel at 4,400, but nothing crazy. If Dorian Finney-Smith plays, I don't think that 3,700 is outlandish on DK, but I wouldn't want too much. How are you approaching the Mavs as of right now?
So one other thing, I got the numbers up. 1.3 DraftKings points per minute in 325 minutes for DeRozan without Murray or Aldridge on the floor this year. 32.2% usage, 31.6% assist percentage. So the rates go up even more than when you just take off Aldridge. As far as Dallas goes, I agree with you. I think Luka looks really good. I think that I would rather go to Luka at 11-1 than Harden at 11-3 if we assume similar ownership.
Is he your favorite pay-up option just in general?
Him or Westbrook, I think.
Okay.
Porzingis, I think, looks good as well. It's not a bad matchup against this, depleted San Antonio front court. It's a bad defense overall, and you've seen Porzingis's usage and rebounding numbers rise even in games that Luka is playing over the last couple of months as he's gotten more familiar with him. So I think Porzingis, and he's playing really big minutes. I think Porzingis gives you a really high ceiling. Beyond that, I agree with you that if Finney-Smith plays, 3,700 is a fine price tag. It's not the kind of value play that I'm really excited to get to, but it fills out some lineups for you.
Favorite play in this game?
DeRozan.
Okay. That one's a tricky one just because of the way, Luka and Porzingis are just so much higher priced. Obviously, they offer you something totally different. Kristaps Porzingis is 1% owned on DK right now.
Yeah, that seems low. and I mean, also from the Spurs side, don't sleep on Gay and Lyles either.
Yeah, Gay at 7, Lyles at 25 on DK. That feels incorrect.
Seems like it should be a little bit closer.
Right. All right, we're moving on.
Do you think
we're not moving on?
I wonder if they start the Spurs. I wonder if they start White, Mills, Forbes, DeRozan, Lyles. They have no need for Drew Eubanks here.
No.
I think they could go back to that starting lineup they used 2 games ago. Was that against Dallas?
How tall is Metu?
Well, he's out.
Oh, is he?
As far as
I mean, he's not in my rotation or anything. I was just thinking is that something they throw at him? I didn't think is he?
He's out. At least as of last night's 8:30 injury report.
Injured out or not with the team?
G League.
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't realize that he was at when you said out, I thought you meant hurt.
No.
I was he doesn't have the little flag next to his name. Anyway.
Oh yeah, it was against Brooklyn that they started DeRozan at the 4.
Portland Trail Blazers, Phoenix Suns. Blazers 5-point favorites against Phoenix. Portland finally, back to normal. Dame about 20% owned. Whiteside around 10. McCollum, Melo not getting any love on DK, but both around 10. I'm not all that interested in this. Like, I would have some Dame. Seems like more of a, a 10% guy for me. Not all that highly ranked for me at point guard on FanDuel. He's my favorite play on DraftKings, but I thought that I would want to get more here, but I'm not seeing it for Portland. Do they stand out to you?
On DraftKings, Dame stands out just because his salaries come down, whereas so many salaries have risen. Whereas before, I thought that he was kind of always a good option, but pretty tough to prioritize over other players. Now you're getting him looking more favorable relative to other guys. So I think Dame stands out. I think Whiteside looks like a solid option. Not as appealing to me as Dame, but his salaries come down a little bit as well, and you're still expecting around 1.3 points per minute over 34 to 36 minutes. So Dame and Whiteside look good. Everyone else doesn't really look that great.
It's just, I don't know, like it's a relatively neutral matchup from defense perspective. It's relatively neutral from a pace perspective. Everybody seems to be priced about where they should be. I just can't get excited for it. Then on the Phoenix side, DeAndre Ayton is questionable. I put him in for right now. If he is out, we kind of know what we need to do. Just play the step back 3 shooting Aaron Baines because he's incredible. But for now, we got Devin Booker at 13% ownership on FanDuel. Nobody in double digits on DK. Rubio and Bridges both at 20 on FanDuel. I like Booker, Ayton, Rubio, and Bridges on FanDuel. They are all top 4 at their position or higher. Now I guess just top 4 is the way that you would say that. And on DK, Booker probably my favorite guy, but nobody I'm going to get to a lot of unless Ayton is out. How are you treating the Suns?
I think that Booker looks really good, especially if everyone looks better if Ayton's out because there's more usage. In Baines' case, obviously, there's more minutes as well. But guys like Booker, Rubio, even Bridges and Sarge to some extent get a little bit more usage if Ayton is out. If he's in, then it does start to become less appealing because you've seen the salaries rise for the Phoenix players as a result of what they've been doing without Ayton. Booker, Rubio, Baines, I think all look good if Ayton sits. If he's in, Booker will still look fine, but not as good as he does if he's out. And an $8,300 Ayton, if he's not limited, would be a pretty solid play.
Do not let me forget to talk to you after the stream is over and we are not live about an email that I just received because you're going to enjoy laughing.
All right.
Can't talk about it live. Sorry, everybody. Top secret. Only funny to Adam. Like Ayton just plays monster minutes if he plays, right? They're not like it's just like a sprained ankle or whatever.
Yeah, that would be my guess.
Okay.
The only thing that would make me hesitant there is that Baines is playing so well. Do they just say, okay, we'll go 30 and 18 instead of 37 and 11?
This strikes me as a spot where they can play Ayton and Baines next to each other because of how bad Melo is.
They definitely could.
Like, I'm confident that DeAndre Ayton can guard Carmelo Anthony.
Sure.
So,
and Baines can.
Well, I'm just going to assume that Baines is on Whiteside.
Right, sure.
But either way.
Like they definitely could. And they weren't doing that even when they had the opportunity prior to Ayton's injury. But again, clearly Baines is healthy. Baines is playing really well. Do they just say, okay, well, we want you to play more minutes and we can take minutes from, Cam Johnson and Javon Carter to make that happen?
Ty Jerome.
Or not Cam Johnson, Diallo.
Any Carter, one of those guards that have the same, might as well have the same name.
Yeah, Carter, Jerome, whoever.
Akobo, all these guys. These dudes that play 16 minutes, and as far as I'm concerned, they're just like swapping out jerseys.
Right. Carter played 32 minutes last game. Like some of those could go to.
Yeah, Akobo didn't play.
Yeah, that was weird. 14 minutes for Jerome.
I didn't look into it because he's Elie Akobo, and I don't give a shit.
Right.
Oh. Favorite play in the game?
On DraftKings, Lillard.
How much Baines do you get if Ayton is out?
A ton.
Yeah.
I mean, he is up to 5,900, but that's still, I think, a pretty good salary.
For sure. 1.14 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days. That's 0.2 of a point higher than my baseline. Well, this one should go well. Golden State Warriors LA Clippers. Warriors are 10-plus point underdogs at home. Steph Curry is questionable with an illness. I have him in for right now. Only Marquise Chris is in double digits in ownership. That's not true. Marquise Chris is in double digits in ownership on FanDuel and DraftKings. Juan Toscano Anderson is also at 17% at 3,500 on DK. I like Chris a lot. Highly ranked on FanDuel and DraftKings. Whether Curry is in or not, I want to get a lot of Marquise Chris playing more minutes. I guess Damian Lee looks okay on FanDuel. I don't have a ton of interest in Curry. Do you want anything from Golden State?
I think Chris looks good enough. 6K is reasonable. He'd become more appealing if Ayton is in as well, because it would take Baines away at that price point. But you have been getting more minutes from Chris. He's productive when he's on the floor. Wiggins' salary is down. Not exactly a spot where I expect a ton of efficiency out of him. We had talked before about if Curry's out, Wiggins being inefficient, probably being more efficient if Curry's back. But the Clippers clearly have the defenders to slow down Wiggins. Damian Lee would look okay. 3,500 for Toscano Anderson coming off of a 28-minute game. I still don't think he's that productive. Like, I wouldn't feel very confident in his production, but I think that he at least has some upside at close to mid salary.
If he's already 17% owned, I'll find a different $3,500 idiot.
Sure.
I'm just good. 0.8 FanDuel points per minute. Like, it's not as if he's some like per minute monster. Oh God, Golden State is just gross. I'm ready for them to go back to being like a real team.
What'd you say?
I'm ready for them to go back to being like a real team next year.
Yeah. Well, I hate them when they're a real team too, because then you have to deal with the they're going to blow the team out, but
1 out of every 10 days, Clay goes crazy.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, it's better than trying to figure out if like Michael Mulder is going to be the guy that I need today.
Yeah, I would much rather deal with good Warriors than bad Warriors.
Yeah.
At this point, I wish that they would just kick them off the slate.
On the Clippers side, Kawhi is around 10%, Paul George around 10% on FanDuel. I don't see a single thing that I'm going to prioritize from LA. I figure that I get like 5 to 10% of Kawhi and Paul George and I call it a day. Montrezl Harrell could be viable, but I think there's enough center talent out there that I'm not all that worried about it. I think they're going to spread out minutes here like pretty significantly. This is just not a game where they need to grind these guys into the ground. Do you want anything from the Clips?
No, I mostly agree with you. I think that 9,200 for Kawhi is a little cheap, but when you start comparing him to other players on the slate, it's still not a priority. Trez, if he plays 28 to 30 minutes, looks okay at 20 or at 6,100, but I would still have him behind like Chris and potentially Aaron Baines at that price point. So, not a priority.
I wish I had more to talk about for the Clips, but this should just be a beating. So, Warriors by 22.
Does Pat Beverly get like 6 steals in the first 12 minutes?
He might. Favorite play in the game?
Chris, with as much confidence as that sounded like.
He's good.
Yeah, but it's still Chris. It's still the Clippers.
It's true.
And he's not cheap.
No. I'm with you, though. The answer is Chris. Then final game, LA Lakers, Brooklyn Nets. Lakers 11+ point favorites against Brooklyn. LeBron James is questionable. I've got him in for right now. I'm really only interested in LeBron and AD as per usual. I prefer AD on both sites, even if LeBron is in. If LeBron is out and you don't like Anthony Davis today, probably a good time to just hit the withdraw button. Danny Green is ranked 69th on DraftKings, which is nice. AD about 20% owned. That'll double or more if LeBron is out. So what do you want to do with Bron if he plays?
I still would rather get to like Luka or Harden at that price point, not to mention Westbrook for cheaper.
Same. I'd rather pay up for all of these guys other than LeBron. And I assume that we don't really need to say much. You just like AD.
Yeah, with or without LeBron, but obviously like him more if LeBron's out.
Do you like any Lakers if LeBron is out other than Anthony Davis?
$3,200 Danny Green.
Okay. $4,400 Kuzma?
Yeah, that would be fine too.
Or or is it Morris?
I think it would be Kuzma.
LeBron
I
missed
mean,
on the
last game,
27th. Kuzma played 28 minutes. Morris played 19.
yeah, last game, obviously LeBron was in, but 22 minutes for Kuzma, 16 for Morris.
Yeah.
Wow, Dwight Howard played 6 minutes last game.
Yeah, his minutes, he played 10 the game before that and 13 the game before that.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind. Starting to round Anthony Davis into center form.
I'm sure he's thrilled about that.
Wow. Must be nice to win now, Anthony.
Right.
Then we go to Brooklyn. New look Nets. Anytime you can get Jacques Vaughn at the helm, you got to do it. Karis LeVert, 6,900 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DK, 1.45x multiplier on Superdraft. LeVert is definitely my favorite net, but we need to talk about what is now going to be a center battle. Is it DeAndre Jordan season today?
Do we have any quotes from Vaughn about what he wants to do?
No, but I can't imagine. I think we can safely assume it. What's really, I mean, DeAndre Jordan played 29 minutes in their last one. I don't know. I didn't look into like Jared Allen's foul trouble, but 3 out of the last 4, Allen 20 or less, 5 of 6 as well. I gave DeAndre Jordan 24. I gave Jared Allen 23. I don't know what to do with these guys. I don't really want DeAndre Jordan either way.
I'll probably go like 27 minutes to whoever starts.
Okay.
Which we probably won't know. I'm going to assume that it's Jordan.
Yeah.
Until I hear otherwise.
Do you have much interest in Jordan in that case?
Kind of middle of the road.
Right. It's not.
Like I would still, he's 5,500 on DraftKings. I would still put him behind Baines if Ayton is out. I'd put him behind Chris. Kind of similar to Harrell.
Jordan has been playing much better. DeAndre Jordan's stats are below my baselines in the last 30 days. 1.06 FanDuel points per minute. So maybe not. Good try, though. Yeah, I just... to me, there are just way better center options than DeAndre. Like, guessing if DeAndre Jordan maintains those minutes.
Should they be playing like Wilson Chandler against Davis?
I don't think it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a Davis going nuts regardless. But.
Yeah. Only guy I really want to get out of Brooklyn is Karis LeVert. Dinwiddie and Jordan are the only guys in double digits. That's on DK, 10 and 14% respectively.
I actually like Dinwiddie a little bit more on DK, where he's 700 less.
I have Dinwiddie 41st, so like I'm okay with it, but I'm just not 106 implied total. Like one of the lowest on the slate.
I'm just saying compared to LeVert.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I prefer Dinwiddie to LeVert on DK as well. I prefer LeVert on FanDuel, where he's only $200 more expensive.
Sure.
Favorite play in the game? This is easy.
Davis.
Yeah. Sum it up. Favorite plays on DraftKings for today?
Westbrook, Luka if he's in, DeRozan, Dame. Man, I don't think I've ever said that. Beal, Davis. Sounds like we need some value.
Yeah. DraftKings tight today.
Yeah, going down, like, trying to find the cheap guys that I like the most right now. Thomas Bryant, Wendell Carter, begrudgingly, Toscano Anderson. If we don't get a bunch of crazy news, this actually seems like Patty Mills, forgot about him, and Derek White. But, yeah, it seems like a good or a fun slate just because you can actually, like, make decisions without having to knowingly pray that the very clear good play like doesn't do well.
Before I get to the FanDuel plays, hit the like button. We're at 183 with 700 people in here. Let's get that number over 200 before we keep going. But favorite plays on FanDuel. I like playing up at point guard, Luka Doncic, Russell Westbrook, and then we can get into that mid-tier, Ricky Rubio, Colin Sexton, Kobe White. Shaq Harrison obviously has to be mentioned. At shooting guard, give me Harden, LeVert, Booker. I think you could pay down to someone like Damian Lee. Small forward, this is where you're going to find the savings. Rudy Gay, Mikal Bridges, Hernan Gomez, Gordon Hayward. Power forward, Larry Nance, 5,600. AD, you're going to want him one way or the other. Trey Lyles, 4,900. You can find some value there. And then at center, it's Andre Drummond with a bullet. Marquise Chris, Vooch, both pretty close. If Ayton is in, 7,900 works as well. 198 likes, guys. Two more. Got to get to the 200 mark before we get out of here. If you haven't hit that thumbs up yet, do it now. 199. Tick, 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 tick. There it is. 204. Appreciate you guys. Thank you guys for joining us. 9Gamer up and down. Tons of content coming out throughout the rest of the day, so check it out. Thank you to SuperDraft for being the presenting sponsor. Go to superdraft.io, use the promo code AWESEMO, and get yourself $20 in super cash on your first $10 or more deposit. Adam, anything else?
I'll be back at 5 with Lofty.
There you go, guys. Thank you for joining us. We are out of here. Best of luck tonight.